wine from Veggies. Stick with me, promise it turns out pretty good.
Here I am where the movie started, facing at a photo they've taken. Space tree flying through the skies and battles happen everywhere.
So the rhubarb gods have smiled upon us again this year. Got a particularly good harvest year. Going to be making a 25 litre batch of rhubarb wine. So for that, going to be going in with round about 8¼ kilos of rhubarb, 7 kilos of castor sugar, a little bit of pectic enzyme, a couple of Campden tablets, some yeast nutrient, and Lalvin EC118 yeast. That's an awesome yeast for any of your kind of country wines, or even if you need to kind of restart stuck fermentations. It's also got a high alcohol tolerance as well. So if you're making some of the certainly more boozy brews, that's definitely one to kind of opt for. We're going to have to split this down over a couple of days. So we need to do a bit of prep work to help extract some of the juices and the flavour from the rhubarb itself. And then tomorrow, after it's been, you know, around about sort of 24 hours, we can move on to the next stage, which is getting everything ready for fermentation. So yeah, let's crack on. It's a nice, easy, simple setup. All we're using a couple of food grade brew buckets, and just going to give those a quick sterilise. They're just going to be used for the first day, really. With the rhubarb, you just want to give it a good clean, get all the grubby stuffs off, and then just top and tail it. Try and take off the stringy bits. And then it's just a case of chopping it down roughly. Tend to keep the chunks on the smaller side because that just gives it a little bit more surface area to work with, and just helps that juice extract. Once you've got your rhubarb all chopped and in the bucket, you want to be going in with your blunt implement of choice, in this case a rolling pin, and just giving everything a real good bash up, just to kind of break things up as much as you can. This is about 4 kilos of our rhubarb, and we're just going to be going in with half of the additions of sugar, pectolase and Campden. And then half of our pectolase addition. Finally, just going in with a crushed Campden tablet. Great tip for this is just to use a couple of teaspoons, put the tablet on, and just give it a little bit of a break up. It just takes it straight into a fine powder. And then it's just giving everything a good mix up. You can see already how all that rhubarb juice is really starting to come out. So I'm just going to cover that and leave it overnight, and that will just turn into an awesome sticky syrup. And now, just to get on with the other one. Been about 24 hours since we did the bashing of the rhubarb and added all the sugar and gubbins in yesterday. So all that syrupy goodness should have all leached out. I think in future years, probably going to go for a lump hammer or a sledgehammer and a sanitised bag for the bashing bit, because 8 kilos with a rolling pin does take a fair squidge of time. But that is all done now. So we'll have a look at the syrupy stuff, get some boiling water in there, and then look at getting that strained through some muslin. So what we're going to do to this is add round about 10 litres of water, so about 5 litres in each bucket, and just leave that to cool. That will just help kind of sterilise and also ensure the sugar is going to be in a liquid state. Then we'll give that a little stir up, let that cool down, and in the meantime I'll get the fermenter set up and everything all sanitised and ready to go. So all in, as I say, this will make around about a 25 litre batch, about 30 bottles all in. Tend to lose about a litre or two with the design of the fermenter. Just going to rinse and repeat, do exactly the same with the other tub of rhubarb. Let those cool down whilst everything else is getting sterilised. Helpfully, I've gone and broke the handle on the colander. So usually I'd have done this straight into the fermenter, but in this case I'm having to do it into a bowl and then dump it in there. But I've got some muslin cloth which has been sterilised, and then just going to be basically straining out the rhubarb syrup that we've made through some muslin in a sieve and just squeezing as much of the juice as that we can get out of that as possible, and then yeah, straight into the fermenter, and then we'll just get the liquid on that topped up. So this is just the muslin that we've got. That's just been soaking in some boiled water, just to kind of give that a quick sanitise. And then we've lined the colander with that, and then in there we've got a bowl just underneath to catch our rhubarb syrup. Gonna slowly start and pour that in. So usually I'd go straight into the fermenter and do this, but breaking colanders on brew day is never a useful thing. And then essentially all we want to do is just give that rhubarb a squeeze and get as much of that juice out of it as we can. This is now waste. It's basically completely sort of dried out. There's not really flavour or anything nice in it, so that'll just go straight on the compost heap. With this, we would just dump straight into our fermenter. And we're just going to drop that in from height as well, just to add a little bit of oxygen in there to help the yeast along. We're just going to repeat that process until we've got through all of the sugar syrup and the rhubarb, and then we can get that topped up to 25 litres. The rhubarb has all been squeezed through, and that is what is left, and is going to end up on the compost heap. And this is our boozy goodness juice. So just going to check the temperature on that, get it topped up to 25 litres, and then drop in the tilt to check the hydrometer reading and just see if we need to adjust the gravity. The starting gravity on this one was coming in a little bit low, so I've added another kilo of table sugar just to bump that up a little bit. So we're sitting at 1.090 now, which is perfect for this. That's all in. If it fully ferments out, should come in at there or thereabouts, about 12ish%. The yeast is all pitched, and I'm going to ferment that for the next few weeks, just at around about 18 to 24 degrees. Usually in an unheated fermenter, probably need around about sort of 3 to 4 weeks to ferment out, but with it being heated, I've got that temperature control on there, so hopefully you should be able to blast that through a little bit quicker than usual. So yeah, let's hopefully the yeast will work its magic, and we can go from there. All in, well, that's pretty much as done for now. So time to have a beer and get cleaned up. This heat wave is not too much fun if you're a little bit of a lardy fella. But anyway, been about 3 weeks since we've got the rhubarb wine underway. It has kind of stalled out the last few days at around about 1.012. but having trouble with some temperature fluctuations, given the kind of heat and everything, just trying to keep the temp on that down. I need to free the fermenter up, so what I'm going to do is rack the wine that's in there into separate kind of demijohns, and then just fit a bubbler on there and leave those to tick over for another little while. That's got the added benefit of getting the yeast off the kind of lees or the yeast poo that's in the fermenter at the moment. It'll also hopefully help kickstart the fermentation again, just to kind of get that going. And also longer term wise, that will help with the degassing of the wine, and also a little bit of kind of bulk aging as well. May need to just keep an eye on it, because it may need racking on again if the kind of lees builds up too much on the demijohns, but hopefully we may be able to get away with that. It's still going to be quite cloudy at the moment. It's going to need some time to kind of degas and clarify out, and as I say, hopefully might be able to eke out that last bit of fermentable sugar in there. When you're doing this, you want to kind of minimise the headspace as much as possible. So the head height on here, round about just there, is perfect. The others have kind of bubbled up just because of the Starsan, but we'll just get those topped up. And this is just basically a rinse and repeat job, so we'll just keep going until we're fully done. One thing to note is when you're doing it, try and get your siphon as low to the bottom as possible, again, just to minimise that oxygen transfer. And that is pretty much perfect. The only thing I will do with this one is, because there is a little bit of headspace, I will just top that up with a bit of cooled pre-boiled water. It will lower the booze down slightly, but it's a small amount, and to be honest, I'd rather have that than leave that much headspace with oxygen potentially getting in there. Next, we need to be getting these blocked off with a bubbler. You're usually looking at losing about 2 litres of your brew, the way the grain father fermenters sell, with the dump valve and everything else in there. But this is actually fermented out amazingly well, and there's very little trub in the upper reaches of that. So I've actually managed to get a fair squidge of out with a ladle, and I've got to say, you've got that inherent boozy smell, but it also there's kind of the sourness from the sort of rhubarb coming through, and an almost tropical sort of note on the nose. That yeast has done a pretty damn good job, actually. So it was Lalvin EC118, which is the first time I've used this. Still a lot of kind of sweetness in there because it's not fully fermented out yet, but I mean, there's almost like sort of pineapple flavours coming through. It's very tropically. Now, usually at this stage, all you're getting hit with is alcohol, but that is actually tasting really good. Although I can already feel it going to my head a little bit already. I think what I'm going to do is empty as much of the leftover juice as I can in there, bang it in the fridge just to essentially cold crash it, and then just ferment that. And I'm actually going to sort of quaff that as it is at the moment, because, as I say, that is pretty good, which does concern me for the longevity of those 5 demijohns that I've just racked off. But I will try and keep my hands off those. But in essence, they're just going to go into a dark place, just keep them out of sunlight and minimise the kind of light getting on them. And then I'm just going to leave those for ideally probably around about 3 months, but see how it goes. I'll just keep an eye on the yeast cake and the lees at the bottom. If that's building up too much, then I'll just kind of rack those off into a new demijohn. But other than that, around about 3 months' time, I'll just check the gravity again, make sure that's fully kind of fermented out, and if all is good, get that bottled. As I say, generally rhubarb wine, probably 6 months from kind of starting, you're really kind of good to go. If you leave it 12 months, you get something an extra little bit special. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much this one under wraps.